Welcome back to Behind the Brakes. This week, it's RJ and I just chatting about the hobby and some things we've seen and appreciation to the guests we've had.
That's right, Matt. We're going to get into a little bit of previous news, what we found in a storage space find recently, and just everything card and hobby related. Let's get into it.
A couple of things that are talked about right out of the gate are the Skenes auto and the I don't want to say controversy because whether it is one or not is up for debate, but that thing's been getting a lot of attention, and I doubt by the time this airs in a week or so that it'll be done. A lot of speculation, and from my side as a PR guy by trade for the last 28 or so years, whether there's a controversy or not, Topps has a problem. I think you and I talked about this a little bit before. It's a trust thing. So if it's on the up and up, that's great. But the fact that some of your consumers think it's not is a problem. However, they kind of dominate the market. So is it really a problem? I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, yeah. I feel like when it first came out, I'm like, yeah, this is great. An 11-year-old kid pulled it. This is exactly what the hobby wants, right? It didn't go to a big breaker. It didn't get pulled, through Fanatic's own site, which is fantastic. But then everything started coming out of left and right field of some of the wildest things of oh, it's not even a kid. It's some guy that just wrote left-handed to look like it's not, a kid that wrote this. And then at the same time, how come it wasn't broken open on there's no video footage of it? Well, first off, it's an 11-year-old kid. It's an 11-year-old kid, right?
Yeah.
Some people don't want to get their kid all over things. If what was written in the diary is true and stuff, it's just a kid opening a box of cards.
Right.
How many times have you opened a box of cards that you're not filming it, right? Because it's just pure enjoyment for you.
Yeah.
I'm just some of the crazy, even further out conspiracies of, it was already, graded by them and sent back. And I'm just like, well, all right, everyone's coming up with a story at some point. So it's just trying to shake it out and feel what the right spot is.
Yeah. And then you have to wonder, is all those conspiracy theories because you didn't hit it? You didn't get the card? I mean, are you manufacturing because you're frustrated? You're not hitting anything? You never know. But it takes me back to the story. And actually, you told me when it happened. I wasn't paying attention, but was it Lawler? And that father and son were they were on the road and they were opening it up in the car.
Father, son, and grandpa, and they were driving to a game and they were opening cards while it's just their tradition that they do, just what they do, and they ended up hitting it. And, it's that whole moment of you got some sleeves and you got some top loaders, but is that really the best spot to,
I know, you're driving down the road. You got a burger in this hand.
Yeah, but you're pretty stacked. Hey, hand me the ketchup, yeah. But at the same time, you're probably not really expecting, you're hoping to hit something like that, right?
Yeah.
But you're not expecting to hit something like that.
Well,
so
the bounty on that was what, $200K?
Yeah, I think it was about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but look what happens, right? Topps Fanatics in of themselves have created this whole, hey, there's bounty on things now. And then the pirates are getting involved and we'll give you, tickets to the next 30 years. So this is what's crazy to me about the market is I almost wonder, everyone's trying to hit a lotto ticket because you look at compared to the actual lotto that you play, right? It's 1 in 172 million that you might even potentially win. Well, the odds are a little bit less with product like this because they only have a finite amount that they're shipping out.
Yep.
So really, you have a better odds to potentially hit one of these cards that could be life-changing money, right? Because they're expecting this to maybe go for close to $1 million, maybe.
Yeah.
Yep. Which still, once again, blows my mind that you can go on right now and get a Hall of Famer, a Hall of Fame pitcher, right? Because essentially, he's a pitcher, and what's going to happen is even if he makes the Hall of Fame, he's then just a Hall of Fame pitcher, which you can get. So many now for a couple $100, on the market.
This is something we talk about a lot. Trevor Hoffman, one of the greatest closers of all time. There's many of the Hall of Famers and their cards are not that expensive. But real quick, we don't do this often, but pop culture. I'm not sure I care about sitting next to, what's her name, Livy Dunn. Why was that offered? That's just a bizarre thing. And if I'm Paul Skenes, I go, that's kind of an odd thing to auction off my
Because it would entice the 11-year-old kids that
11-year-old kids. RJ, come on. I don't know. Unless she's buying me beers, not that interested in sitting next to her. I mean, she's probably a fine human being, but anyway, I thought that was odd. I read that today. I'm like, oh, that's an odd thing to throw in there.
Yeah.
Season tickets for 30 years and you can sit next to her.
I mean, to quash the conspiracy theory, right? The owner of the Pirates still wants to do a photo op and, with the kid and the card and like all that kind of stuff, even if it's being sent, off to, whatever auction house it is. So if that still happens, is that proof enough now to like end the conspiracy of like, it wasn't an 11-year-old kid. It was some, mega breaker who does nothing but buy, the Willy Wonka style where, no, daddy, I want the golden ticket. Buy me all the chocolate so I can get the golden ticket. And you're like, okay, the amount of infinite money you'd have to be spending on this product, especially as that box price elevated so quickly. It's just crazy.
Yeah, but it's out there now, and it'll be interesting to see how much that thing goes for. $1 million for a guy that's been not even a full season in the league. It's kind of wild. So, okay, real quick question for you. Of all the MLB debut patch cards, now, money aside, I'm talking player, talent, which player would you have wanted to snag?
Well, I am a Yankees fan, so I would want the Jason Dominguez.
Yeah. All right. That's fair.
Fair. Yeah. But once again, like that's personal, right? Like if I'm looking to cash in, give me the Paul Skenes, right?
Yeah.
Give me the Paul Skenes, give me the Ellie, give me that Chase card. But, if it's personal collection, it's Dominguez for me.
Dominguez. Was that the only Yankee that had a debut?
I'm not too sure. Maybe Volpe, but.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, all right. So moving on to some other stuff that's kind of happened. There's some product launches, and I'm only going to talk about one because again, when this thing goes, it'll be about 10 days in for this product. But this Topps Transcendent Baseball, just kind of reading up on this. This is pretty wild. So was released on January 22nd. They've got some 24 karat gold framed autographs. There's only 50 boxes of this, and early estimates cards from this could get fetch over $1,000 per card. Now, I think you did a little bit more research on this product. That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think like the base set or whatever is like 42 cards in it. But like when you look at the checklist through Topps, the checklist is 27 pages that you can, like a PDF of 27 pages. So, but it's all the mixtures of the inserts, the, autos, all that kind of stuff, right? So to have something like that, it's going to be pretty crazy. But I know that they do a high-end product like that, or product that's going to be in demand, usually goes through their EQL, which this one is, third-party provider, where you sign up with them and it kind of supposedly makes the shake a little bit, more 50-50, and someone can't go in and buy 10 boxes, right? Or a whole reseller can't go in and kind of beat you with a bot. It makes you go in and kind of prove your identity. And if you're in some EQL draws before and you don't get selected, it actually increases your chance for the next one. So if you've been in the last one for Cosmic Chrome or for Triple Threads and you missed out on those, but you go in on this one, you'd have supposedly a greater odd chance of being selected to open the box.
Bumps up your odds a little, huh?
Yeah.
Well, so I know you only took a quick glance at that checklist. So what I'm looking at here has got Babe Ruth, Willie Mays, and Derek Jeter. The three names that I got. Are there any other monsters? Obviously, they're all monsters.
I mean, at that point, yeah, no,
right, right.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, right, they're going to run out of Babe Ruth material to give, right? No more cut autos, no more jerseys, no more bats. Are going to be going, well, where's his coffin at? We're just going to dig that bad boy up, and we'll just do shreds of wood.
Chipping. That would be an odd card to get. I'm not going to lie to you, but
Babe Ruth bone spur.
So yeah, I'm also seeing again, real quick. We talked about this a resurgence of '90s football cards. Now I'm not sure I believe this, but apparently the Brett Favres, the Jerry Rices from the '90s are seeing like a 30% price increase over the last, what is this, about a month? Just looking at my garage and some of these collections that we buy, I'm not sure I believe that. I'm not sure. And if it is true, I need to get out there and do some work, man. That's a lot of junk wax out there. Now, I get a Brett Favre with Atlanta Falcons. That's probably somewhat rare, right?
Yeah, but Yeah, and no.
I mean, right? Yeah,
Because, but this is where it gets interesting, right? Because of, once again, the market and how much card is back there, and people are going based off of, sales cycle and like, oh, there's an uptick in it. Well, is it just getting to a point where, speaking of conspiracy theories, like card companies, how they do the buyback programs, and then they have them autoed and they re-encase them, and then they sell them as a new product, on something that's essentially a junk wax era card.
yeah.
Is that part of the push, right? Is someone going out there and this year they're going, hey, we're going to have, 15,000 Brett Favre numbered and foiled and whatever they're going to do to it, autoed, all that stuff going back into it. And everyone's like, oh, well, goodness, this market's picking back up. You're like, well, yeah, because they have to cycle products somehow and figure out a new way to entice new buyers to come back in.
Yeah. Well, they were pretty successful with the MLB patch, so the debut patch. So maybe they'll do something with these older guys. But for me, for the old guy, speaking of me, I liked that old stuff because when I was a kid, those are the guys that I was watching with a different perspective. I thought I could be in not the 90s, 80s, but thought I could be in the NFL or MLB. So I'm watching these guys from a different lens. Now I'm just a guy watching them and appreciating what they're doing. So like for me, it would be like a Barry Sanders. That was my guy. Like, yeah. And I know you're a Chicago guy, and that might sting a little, even though they weren't really winning back then. They were
not. I mean, the dude was so good. At some point, he's just like, I'm just not going to come to work today.
I'm done.
We're not winning, and I'm just getting my butt kicked, so I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, he was a legend. I mean, I love that guy. Who was your guy from that era? Who was from football?
From football, I was actually back then. I was a lot of the Bears were kind of a train wreck at that point too. But I was actually a huge 49ers fan. So I was a Steve Young fan, and yeah, it was Jerry Rice, like all that. So I missed the Montana because I was like a little bit before me, but got to that era. Because like them and the Cowboys had so many huge, meetups, and like Deion Sanders was on one team, then he's on the Cowboys, and then you're just like, this is getting crazy, so it was a fun run.
All right, so you had to bring up the Cowboys. This has nothing to do with cards. What is happening to that organization? We are not a sports talk show, but my Lord, that was awful. Yeah. And also this new coach, do you see the Jacksonville coach with his Duval? My Lord.
No.
You haven't seen that?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
It's been a crazy couple weeks here. So
yeah, you got to watch that. That was obnoxious, but I don't mind though, because the Cowboys, I'm not a fan, never have been.
It's because their owner won't fire their general manager.
That would be an interesting conversation, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Excuse me, Jerry. Yes, Jerry. I think it's time we let you go because you're just really not up to running the team. Agreed.
There's something Seinfeldian about what's happening there. I mean, the whole Steinbrenner, it's like a weird comedy that's going on there. And I don't know.
Yeah, but at least with like George Steinbrenner and the Yankees, right? Original George, like he was like, I want to win, I'll spend the money. Essentially the Dodgers of today, right? Where like now even his kids are like, well, we can't really compete with what the Dodgers are spending. I'm like, you are one of the top two teams with revenue generated in the entire league. There's no way you can not spend that type of money.
Yeah.
You're just choosing not to. And whatever, it's your money. I can't tell you what to do with your own money, but win me a freaking championship, man. Come on, let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I was talking about the Seinfeld Yankees, not the actual Yankees, because that's what it feels like. Every time I read an article about what they're doing, it's like, this is a comedy. These guys, what are they doing? I don't know. It's kind of wild. But so, yeah, speaking of, we weren't speaking of it. We kind of mentioned it earlier, things you find in the garage and all that. We recently purchased a storage locker. We posted some of that on some of our social platforms, and we're still going through it. It was a lot bigger lift than we thought. We found some pretty cool stuff in that. And I think for me in the hobby, I like it all. I like hunting for those things like an 86 Jordan that's going to be in somebody's storage locker they didn't know about it, or Honus Wagner or something like that. We're showing some of the stuff we got there right now. If you're on YouTube, we'll show that to you, and you can check out our social. But we're finding some pretty big hits. And if you don't know, RJ's sister is my wife. I'm going through some cards the other day, RJ, and she got all excited about Makita, the Blackhawks card we've got in there. We found a Stan Mikita. I guess he's a Chicago legend. So, anytime she can get involved and get excited about something that I'm out there spending money and criming through somebody's garage is a good thing. But
that's what I was joking with her the last card show that you and I went to. I'm like, I found some New Kid on the Blocks, New Kid on the Blocks, unopened packs. And the guy had 4 of them. And I'm like, I almost bought it for you, because, she was a huge new kid on the block, back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, but at the same time, I just couldn't say, I want to spend money on this. You would have literally rolled your eyes and been like, this is ridiculous,
I almost tried to sing a New Kids on the Block, but I didn't know if the song I was about to sing is there. So
I think we'd have to pay royalties then. So
well, is that them?
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Yes, I am a cultured man. Yeah. But anyway, that's been a lot of fun to do. That's just something that for me, kind of gets me excited about it. We got a bunch of graded hockey cards in there. We found the John Wooden's retirement, what do you call that, program is in there with a couple of tickets. I thought that was pretty incredible. We did some research. The only one we can find online is in the Smithsonian, so we're trying to figure out what to do with that. Jen suggested the other day we send it to Golden, have them auction it off. I think that may have been your suggestion. We'll see what happens with that. But what else we got in there? We got a Fernando Valenzuela autograph, Wayne Gretzky autograph, but they're on products that probably aren't overly valuable.
Yeah, we pulled a 1933 baseball card. I can't remember his name. He played for
Collins. Red Sox. Yeah.
Yep. And you start reading about people, right? And you're just like, oh, look at that. He was MVP of the league and he won 5 championships. And then you're like, all right, this is, pretty legit stuff. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Even if someone opened an entire storage locker or they opened up the back of their car and it was just all these boxes, I would go through it no matter what. Even if I saw hey, a large portion of that might be just junk, I'm still going to go through it just because once again, you never know with that one card. But at the same time, it's just fun going through a whole bunch of other, other history that you're kind of watching and rekindling about as you're, pulling some of that stuff out.
And you say it all the time, you know, how long it took that card from when it was created to, now it's in my hands and how many people it's gone through. That's another cool thing. Like the Sam Collins, you said it's a 33.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Sam, maybe it's Stan Collins. So what is that? I'll do math real quick. That's 70. That's almost 100 years.
Yeah,
that's
it's almost 100 years.
Some years. I mean, and we'll talk about this in a second. I don't want to talk about grading yet, but we did send the Collins out for grading. We're going to talk about grading here in a second. But real quick, a couple other things we found in there that were a lot of fun were some old Sports Illustrateds from the first and second, a couple other years in there. And for those are just kind of neat to see how Sports Illustrated has evolved. Again, I know we're a card-based group here, but the Sports Illustrated have art on them and what you look at now as a non-sport thing. But the way that magazine has evolved, we got some pretty good stuff in that storage locker, and going through it's just a lot of fun to kind of look at the hobby from that perspective. For me is something I enjoy. In fact, I find myself down in the garage a lot now, still looking through the stuff what else is in here? Because
Matt, what are you doing out there? Just rummaging. No worries.
Trying to find money. But yeah, so that's been a lot of fun and going through that. But back to the Collins, we did send it out for grading. So RJ, just take it from here because we have a little challenge going on here.
Yeah, so we, in December, right, PSA ran a special, hey, send your cards in to get graded and whatever the dollar off or percentage off it was. So we sent a group of cards in, then. And then, of course, everyone saw, about a month in or a couple weeks ago, we got hit with the notification that, PSA is backlogged, which I get, they are the giant, right? It's 80 or 85% of the market they essentially consume and, produce cards on. So everyone's kind of coming to them for everything, right? To get their resale value back up. So we, decided to submit the 33 card and along with some others to SGC. I'm a big fan of SGC. I really like the tuxedo style. It just looks really sleek, but at the same time, right, it holds value, but not nearly as value as PSA does. But they are really good for vintage, and that's part of the reason why we sent this one in too, because I know we will have that card back in 15 days, right? I think it's 10 days to grade plus ship time. So maybe 20 days. So now we're at the part where the original PSA that we sent out in late December is in assembly mode. And we're at a race. So we're trying to figure out which one's going to show up first, if it's going to be, PSA or if it's going to be the SGC cards. My money is still probably on the SGC at this point.
Yeah.
So we actually submitted one more card to that I forgot to put in. And they reached out to me, an email. And they're like, hey, there's an extra card in here. Can we call you so we can take payment so we can put it on the grade? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I literally just talked to someone from SGC yesterday and we, they added the additional card that like that's customer service right there. Like, hey, you totally forgot to put this one on here. Like, I'm not going to slide a hand it down my sleeve. I'm just going to, call you and we're going to figure this out. So
what was the card you forgot? Was it a monster? Or do you not remember?
No, it was, offhand. I can't, it was I've been opening a lot of MLS soccer lately.
Yeah.
So it was, I think it was an auto for someone from Atlanta. So I can't remember. I did a whole, cause I hodgepodge, I submitted another set to PSA and we'll kind of see how that goes, for some personal stuff, but we'll see.
So SGC and PSA, the race is on, and we will report back what we get back as well as the timing on that. So yeah, PSA continues to dominate. It looks like Beckett Grading Services is having some problems. They're down significantly, but I think that's been covered quite a bit. So I don't know if Beckett's going to be getting anybody's cards in the near term.
Yeah. Well, what I question from that, right? When a company, say worst case scenario, Beckett goes under, my guess is they would probably get bought before they went under. But if they go under, what happens to that graded card value? Are you like, man, now I got to crack this and resubmit it to somewhere else? Or would it essentially in 10 years, if that company's no longer around, hold grade value because, they knew what the company was, right? Same thing too, though. It's like with, I got this Steve Kerr picture behind me. So I knew Steve Kerr as a basketball player, but there's so many people that know Steve Kerr nowadays as a coach. Same thing could easily happen with Beckett in 10 years time. If for some reason they're not around, some guy that's going to be newer in the hobby, be like, I don't know what this is. Why am I going to pay top dollar for something that's not even available to be, graded on anymore? So curious to see how that all shakes out. Will
they be looked at like the, ISA and some of those other smaller grading places yeah.
Well, I mean, with just the advancement overall with, in our industry, Matt and PR and me marketing, the AI integration with stuff is crazy. And the more it happens, the more with grading, we will move to computer enhanced or, AI stuff. And it should be turn and burn, and all companies should be at a pretty low, rate by then. Cause I would rather, like a tag, right? Tag, you can actually submit and get a full, that's error report. Yeah. I know PSA says that they do it now and they can add comments to it, but I know there's been some issues with that too, because the graders are there to focus on grading, where with something like Tag or even some of your, others that are kind of up and coming, like Arena Club, they have this whole report that they show you. Here are the lines, here are the dings, it's all outlined within the report or their, their imaging.
Yeah. Let's talk about Arena Club. I know you're excited about that. You've, partaken, if you will, in some of their products. Tell me about that, because I haven't dug into it the way you have.
Yeah, I've gone through and I've opened a few of their packages, a few of their slab packages. So yeah, they drop they drop twice a week. One's a higher price point, multi-sport, and the other ones are more individualized to baseball, basketball, wrestling, into soccer. Sometimes it depends on what they have, but they will incorporate. They are all slabs, and they will incorporate PSA, Beckett, whatever it might be that might meet that value. And when you open, packages range, say on a Friday, there's a $50 tier for 3 slabs that you get, a $100 tier for 2 slabs, a $200 tier for 2 slabs, and then a $250 tier for 1 slab. Yeah. I know Tuesdays they have a little different, pricing ratio, but with that, you get to see the entire list for the most part of the graded cards that are out there and the tiers that they're in. And then before you open the pack, you essentially have the option to pay an additional small fee. I think it's $25 to sell the card back to them. So even if you open up, say, a $250 pack, you chose to sell it back to them, you would only be out $75. So you have a chance to kind of hit a bigger card. And actually I'll do a video here at some point because you can kind of show the packs and the cards that you've opened. And I'll do a couple review on some of the ones that I came across, but, or that I've gotten. But, I did one today, and I got a 1963, I think it's batting leaders tops card, PSA 8, it was out of a $250 pack that I opened. The value, I think one sold in November for $225. So value is kind of in line
right there.
Yeah, you're going to get some fillers, especially if you use some of the smaller packs. I opened a $50 pack just to see what was in there, and it's 3 cards that are all graded. They're all worth $10, so you're all right, it is what it is. But so I'm just really intrigued by what they're doing, especially with on the AI, because like I said, there are PSA and there are Beckett and there are SGC cards and all that stuff in there, but then they do also bring in their own graded cards. And if it's one of their cards that is graded, they will show you the full AI report. Like, you get this whole centering. It shows you green lines on where the centering is and where the percentage was. And if there's like an indentation or a corner or a nick or something, it outlines it in like a green fluorescent so you can like physically see it. And then it's like on the blockchain essentially. So if you're on there, Matt, and I trade a card with you, because you can trade, you can sell, you can trade, or you can request them to send them to you so you can have them for yourself or sell them yourself, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you trade with somebody and that card gets traded multiple times, you can see the entire trade,
history. Yeah.
Trade history of that card, which is kind of cool. You see, it's not, it is what it is, tipping off. And actually too, with Arena Club, they have a QR code on there. So you can actually scan the QR code if you come across one, and it will immediately bring you to the report of why it was given that grade. So,
that is incredible.
like, right, like, to me, like, that's really cool. It's not just like, hey, like, look, this one got a 9, but you can obviously see that there's like an indent right there. I don't know, like, how it got a 9. Or as people, especially getting cars back, they're like, how did this get a 6? And you're like, I don't know, man. So
yeah, you were telling me about this, and I do a lot of not work with AI, but I try to use AI in what I do day in and day out, and then you read about it, the advancements of it. I can't imagine that grading companies are going to be able to hold out much longer from making AI the norm to grade cards,
right?
Because you remove the human element. I think we may have talked about this in a previous episode or just in conversation together, but if I hate the Cowboys, I'm a human being. I'm going to really grade a Cowboys card hard. And or the Dodgers,
Wait, there was spit on that card when I got it. I'm just encapsulating what I got it as.
But I mean, AI is AI. You just take the human element out, and it is what it is. Like you said, you get a detailed report that I can trust, I think, right? Or is AI going to take over the world and start just selling my cards and hoarding them, and the machine is going to take over the matrix?
Well, I mean, it's all you never know at that point, right? But you're hoping with something like that, like it just makes more sense that with the amount of cards that are consistently being pushed out for grading, right? Like, everyone kind of jokes right now, like, we are in the era of, it's like the junk slab era, because everyone is grading base. Like, hey, it's a base of Paul Skenes, I'm going to grade it. Like, it's almost getting to a point with all the variations, card variations and numbers, and like, hey, Ellie De La Cruz has been a rookie for 2 years, and how is he in 2 years worth of product, and is still signing rookie autos because it's a chase card now, right? It's increased your box, which can be a little bit ridiculous at times, but it's going to go that way, because you're right. At some point, the amount of cards and memorabilia that will be coming through is just going to be too much for a physical person to sit there and grade each day. People get tired. A machine won't.
Yeah, I'm in favor. I think it just makes it fair. I think that's the way to go, but I'm an AI junkie, so maybe
it's the same thing too. It even happened back before with like right before pandemic, right? I think I've shared that article with you, and there was some issues with PSA and another company with I think some card shaving, right? Like, to a point where like the FBI was investigating, because we're talking about some like major cards that can fetch a high dollar amount on the aftermarket, and it's like, if you have someone that is part of all of this, it can easily kind of get awry, especially with something that's as crazy as the memorabilia field, right? Like, the fact that they can go in now and they can say, hey, this, bat is from this Babe Ruth game where he called his shot, and we were able to photo match it. You're like, you're able to photo match something that was like 100 years old, all right, hey, good on you. Good on you.
Yeah. I don't know. When I read that article you sent me, and this is a little bit of ignorance, but can you imagine having a, $5,000 card in your hand and saying, if I shave it with a razor blade, I can make it like, who's going to take that gamble? But man, that is bold.
Yeah. Bold. Yeah. People do anything for it at this point, right? Like, I think a story just came out of UPS, or a USPS worker, was skimming cards from the post office. He was just working there, and he saw where they were going to, what auction house they were going to, and he was, taking them, and ended up getting caught.
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah. yeah, it has to repay, all the money that was stolen. And, I think it was, we just came up, I think it was like $100,000, wasn't it? Something absurd.
And federal time, I have to imagine. Isn't that manipulating the...
Right?
My God.
Yeah. Because I always wonder that too. Like, we sell on eBay, and every now and then, like, our under $20 cards don't show up. And I always wonder, I'm like, what happened to you? Because the guy's not getting it. It's not being tracked with their trackable, receipt, which it needs to be, right? And then at the same time, the card's not coming back to me. I'm like, so that card is somewhere, I'm like, maybe it just got jammed in the system and it got shredded to bits. Or maybe it got to a point where they're like, oh, we can't read this, it's undeliverable, and it gets thrown into a hole. There's got to be like an auction house for the mail house, right? Like, hey, here's a whole bunch of unopened mail. We're going to auction this stuff off. Or what do they do with that? Do they just shred it all? I have no idea. Because like airports, right? They'll sell the luggage. Like, does the mail sell the mail? Right? Like, I don't know. Like, hey, look, this package, let me just shake it. And it sounds valuable. Let's throw it in the auction later pile.
You just gave me another idea of where to start Googling. Find instead of storage lockers, I'll be buying mail.
Yeah.
An envelope. Anybody? Great it. All right, man. So, so again, this was episode 5. We're kind of in that, we're in a good place. Have a lot of good guests coming up. We're excited about. And again, very grateful to the folks that have come on before. We've had Boardwalk Breaks. We had Shake from Shake and Bake. We had Emerald on. It's, really excited about this. We appreciate everybody that's jumping on and listening. We would welcome and we want comments. So whether you drop a comment on YouTube or any other platform, find us on the gram, as they say, Instagram. Shoot us a note.
Yeah. And also too, if anyone out there, if you break or you're massively into card collecting or whatever it might be, and you think you have an interesting story, we're open to hearing about it and seeing if it's something that, to have you come on and talk about it.
Yeah. We want to share the stories of the hobby. Again, we want to build a community, and it's been a blast meeting everybody that's been a part of this. And we're going to keep trucking along and hope to meet more people. We are going to be attending some shows. We're trying to work that out right now with busy schedules, but we'll be out there. And if nothing else, come up, shake our hand, grab a beer, and talk about some cards and see what happens. So thanks again for listening, RJ. Always a pleasure.
Definitely, Matt. Always.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to y'all soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Breaks. We appreciate you being here with us and helping us grow this community. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube.
Make sure to like, follow, or subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one.